Welcome to the Balance Virtual Trainer podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia. I'm the president of KIPS, Time to Train Fitness, and your balance ambassador. We have somebody on the podcast that is a current user of the Balance platform. So our first one, I know that we haven't done that many episodes yet, but we have Denise Reaves on the podcast. First of all, thank you for being my guest.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So let's kick it off to kind of set the stage for the episode. Denise, can you share what you were doing prior to streaming online workouts and kind of what your business is?
Sure. So prior to streaming online workouts, I was teaching face-to-face for the most part. And what I mean by that is that I do both fitness and mindfulness classes. So the mindfulness classes can be done on Zoom. And I was using Zoom prior to moving my fitness online. And so, yeah, everything was pretty much local, and my clientele was diverse, and I was in person.
Gotcha. And with you being our first guest that uses the Balance platform, can you share kind of what your experience has been and what you like about it?
Sure. So the Balance platform is an easy to use platform, offering a scheduling tool, an area to upload videos on demand if you would like to sell or resell classes that you've previously recorded. And I use both of those components to it. It offers also a platform for people who want to put together classes. In other words, if you were to actually go through a series of classes, I haven't done that yet, but I do like that feature a lot. And it's easy to use because you can either use the Balance interface online and do nothing more than send your clients there to find you and to register. Or if you have your own website and you want to integrate this in, meaning use the Balance backend, and that is something that I value because that's something that we have to create on our own otherwise, or find that solution. So for my needs, Balance meets them, and it's cost effective.
Nice. Prior to recording, we were just chatting a little, and you told me how you are still growing through learning the technology side of it. So it's great to hear that you find it easy, and that you're integrating it, all these kinds of items that is great for people that are in that boat, or maybe potentially looking at other platforms. I personally think that the Balance platform, it offers a wide variety of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be one thing, not just online workouts. You can integrate your live classes, your live class schedule, discounts, things that you might use, multiple things. I think you just mentioned that, which is great. So let's talk a little bit about the virtual side of it and even your business. With yourself, did you have any experiences filming workouts prior to going virtual, or was it let's figure this out, let's try to grow this, and let's try to continue that aspect of my business?
Yeah, no, it absolutely, filming workouts and moving into the online environment was a byproduct of COVID and us being home. It just seemed clear to me that that in order for me to continue relations with some of my valued corporate clients, so I have some corporate clients and I wanted to keep them, that creating an online solution was going to be the best thing. And so that is what I did.
Nice.
The film, and so and like I said, I think I might have overcomplicated things in the beginning because I just didn't know. But now, and so I've kind of changed, if you'd like, my approach. And I also have noticed that more solutions like Balanced, while it was there, I wasn't aware of it.
Hmm.
Have hit my awareness during this time frame.
Nice, nice. With your yoga classes and your mindful classes and your business online, what have been your favorite aspects of that?
Of being
Yeah.
online. Well, so I think that obviously, there were times when I was traveling over 40 minutes to a client.
Wow.
So clearly the lack of travel
Yeah.
is great.
Hmm.
Um, and the other thing, which is good for the client, is that I had different teachers in my infrastructure going to different sites for some of the companies that I work for, and that has been streamlined for them.
Hmm.
So they too, in our current environment, have lowered their cost out
Mm.
because now instead of paying for three different teachers at three different sites throughout the city at the same time, they're now paying for one because everyone's streaming in.
Hmm.
So that's been a change as well.
That's one end that I haven't thought about. That I really haven't thought about how, from the business perspective, you can save cost not having to pay for travel, things along that line. So that's a good one that you brought up there. I've always mentioned how working out at home, working from home, it's a time saver. It's a time saver that you can then apply that time that you're maybe traveling 40 minutes, 5 minutes, 10
Mhm.
minutes, apply it somewhere else in your life, whether it's doing laundry or it's spending more time with your kids, working out. That's time saved, not sitting in a car. That's always been my perspective on it. I know that I feel like
Right.
a lot of people started to experience it. They were like, oh, wow, like not having to drive to work. I like this. I like being able to roll out of bed, spend time other places. And I feel like I'm just throwing this out there for the podcast, but I feel like it was kind of I don't want to say negative, like it was a stigma before. But one small joke I'll share with people on this episode is that I feel like even still, like my mom still doesn't think that I have a job because I work from home. Like I'll say like I'm at home, or even maybe my neighbor. I feel like my neighbors still say that, like, "Oh, you working today?" Yeah, I'm working right now. I just took the trash out because I can. But they're just so used to that, traveling to an office, spending 8 hours there. But it's a new outlook that has definitely grown in the last year and a half for you now with teaching online, using the Balance platform. What can you share about maybe that have you found that's most difficult?
The most difficult thing about working online?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think initially it was simply getting the new tools that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to think about sound and I had to think about lighting
Yeah.
and cameras. Those are the three basics. And I got a little complicated because I tried to actually integrate in a video camera solution, trying to do a higher quality image with 4G. That's not needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I overcomplicated some things. Um, but by and large, I seem to feel like I did most things right. And so I don't think this is complicated, but I invested in a good webcam.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that if you are away from your speaker and you're teaching a fitness class, at least in my usage model, and you're tying yourself up in knots, guiding a class, you need great AirPods because that's how you're going to communicate. So that's your speakers. And then I spent not a lot of money because my lights stay stationary, so they don't, on a light kit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even think that's hard, but it was all new to me.
Yeah.
Of course, it wasn't. This isn't my world. I hadn't really thought about it, but those are basics that just needed to be looked at.
Yeah. Yeah. And just because I know people will be wondering, can you share the names of the products that you utilize with your setup?
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. So I have a Logitech webcam
Mm-hmm.
with a wide lens.
Nice.
Um, When I work, so for instance, right now I have a Yeti Bluetooth as my speaker because when I'm in a mindfulness class, which is online, I don't need the AirPods. So I'll just use the speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And then the light kit I got was an inexpensive one on Amazon, and I believe the brand is Fovitec, Fovitc. And I just got three stand-up lights, with lots on them with a natural light, and that seems to work. They were in the world of light kits, not expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not as portable.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you pay for
Mm-hmm.
in good light kits also. Yet for the usage model of having a room that you've given to be your studio,
Mm-hmm.
this is perfect. This works fine.
Nice, nice. That's one of the things that I feel like I've been saying a lot over the last 2 weeks, and it could have been because I filmed a tutorial about this, but with your filming space, your studio, what people don't get is that what's behind the camera, nobody knows. It could be honest, you could honestly have so much stuff just packed behind the camera, but all that matters is what's in front of it. That what they see, what's in front of it. Prior to recording, I saw that you have a nice office behind you, and it's great that you shared the equipment there because some people need examples that these are proven things that work for your setup. I think that's where sometimes people get caught up is they're like, oh my goodness, there's so many options on there. And I'm happy that you shared with the lighting
Yeah.
stuff because lighting is one of those. You type in video recording lights, studio lights, and there's going to be pages upon pages on Amazon. And the way that I usually say with lights is that it's a pay for what you get model. That can the $60 package work? Yeah, it can work, but it's going to be $60 worth of lights. You start paying 150, 200, 250, gets going up, and they get a little better, a little better. I mean, the YouTubers that I follow, they they spend thousands on lights, but you don't need to do that to start off. You find what works with your model and kind of upgrade through there with, I think you shared at the beginning there that you started off with a 4K camera. I don't know if it was mirrorless or if it was a DSLR. What kind of made you switch from something like that to a webcam?
It was time. I realized that I was producing,
Mm,
taking more time in production.
nice.
So now what I do is on the back end, I'm just using Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
and I've also, of course, figured out how to stream the music
Mm-hmm.
from my computer into the Zoom class
Mm-hmm.
as background music.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take that and I move it onto, I just happen to use a piece of software. It doesn't mean this is the only game in town. It's just another easy to use called Wondershare.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that is my editing software.
Nice.
And I edit usually the beginning and the end of class, enhance it. And I have a kind of a custom vignette backdrop that I use. And sometimes I'll zoom it a little bit up and just check it out. So if I've done a floor-based class where I'm not standing up, then I'll zoom in more because I can get closer, for the final product. And I've decided to save most of my classes in 1080p. So that seems to work. So I convert it all over. So there's a little conversion happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I do is I'll upload the class to Balance.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll save it on a drive.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's my little process. And it isn't too bad, and people in the fitness industry generally tend to be, and I mean this in a joking way, but more allergic to technology,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and while I'm not completely allergic, as you can see, I too want to make this as streamlined as possible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's finding those systems, those processes that help you just make it quicker because sometimes it's not. Data transferring, converting, all that stuff takes time. It's not an instantaneous thing. And it's finding those ways that you can streamline your process, get that down, but still make it professional. A question that kind of popped in my head right now is with all this equipment, have you found yourself using it in other areas of your life, maybe with social media, anything like that?
No, but that's just because I'm not a massive fan of social media, which is completely something to be said for, maybe how much I'm getting my business out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I could easily see where this would be useful,
Hmm.
especially as it's just even a pointer
Hmm.
for people, because my classes are relatively inexpensive.
Hmm.
So, in fact, I think they're very, you can get a class, one of my old classes for $5 for 7 days.
Mm.
You can have it and use it, and it's easy, right? And it will disappear, but you can use it for 7 days. And so, yeah, just having this on balance would be for somebody who was more, use social media as a tool to generate new business.
Hmm.
Um, it could be a very easy tool
Yeah.
to use.
Oh, yeah.
And that's assuming that that person has found an easy way to upload their material if they want to, just have a library
Hmm.
of some of their work.
Yeah. Now let's get this episode into talking about your background with fitness, because I always feel like that's always a good question to ask people, whether they're teaching cycling, hit, yoga, mindful classes. What are the differences that you've kind of seen with teaching online versus in person?
Um, well, the biggest difference is the inability to touch the person, right? To help them, to align them, especially in the yoga world. Um, and so and then the other big difference is when I'm teaching online, I am doing the workout with them.
Hmm.
Now, that's where yoga is a little different than other forms of fitness
Hmm.
because often the teachers do classes with them.
Hmm.
Traditionally, yoga teachers are up and down. Um, and that can happen in an online environment. But my students prefer to keep their cameras off.
Hmm.
So it turns that I'm doing the class.
Yeah, it's good insight, and that's one of the things that I feel like many people took a little bit kind of experience and kind of learn that okay, I have to show them, say multiple times because people learn differently. And that's one of the things I feel like a coach grows through in person is that when they first start teaching, they're still learning that I need to teach this in multiple ways. That some people are visual learners, people are auditory, some people just need to see you doing it in multiple ways, or you saying it in multiple ways with virtual. You're having to sometimes do all of those things, just doing it, and that goes into potential like I'll say is like how in shape you are with it. If you can't get away with being able to take as many breaks potentially in person, where you can go around help people on virtual, you're having to do that whole thing, speak through it. I think it takes a lot of stamina, a lot of talent to do that. And the people that are doing it, I give them a ton of credit for it, ton of credit just for those reasons. With yoga, and now let's integrate the technology side of it. What were some of the pieces that you felt that were maybe so unique to yoga specifically? Do you feel like there was a special microphone that really worked well for you? Or do you feel like the way that you angle a camera is different than other practices?
Okay, for yoga specifically,
Mm-hmm.
you want some sort of background that's simple to encompass you. I'm using screens, but you certainly don't have to. And then the AirPod is without a doubt the best solution that I could find. I could not find a mic system without jumping to a completely different price point, which would be literally more when you get into the lines of what I'd call almost professional, where the mic would be hanging off the ceiling over my head,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because my camera and the computer and everything is on one end of the room and I'm on the other,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything gets zoomed in. So I would like to say that the industry standard for online for yoga teachers who are doing this individually and not in a full-blown professional environment would have to be AirPods of some sorts.
Hmm. It's good to know.
Because you can get on your head, they stay in your ears.
Mm-hmm.
You're wrapped up in a pose and those AirPods are there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point there, and good to point out with microphones. I I myself do a lot of research on microphones, and even though I have a plethora of them, it's one of those things where what's the next level? And I think the setup that you were briefly talking about there was maybe using a shotgun microphone with a C stand so that it's basically stationary. And one
Mm-hmm.
thing that kind of came to my mind and what I kind of learned from just watching different videos is that it could potentially only work for certain formats. Yoga could be one of those, cycling could be another, but ones that maybe like a hit, a kickboxing, something where you're moving side to side, up and down, back and forward, it wouldn't work for that because of the radius of that microphone. And that's why you got to look at what's your needs, what are your goals for each class, and the microphone can change depending on those. A lot of the classes that
Right.
I film, we use lavalier microphones, and we have different types of microphones, and that might switch depending on the instructor. It's really one of those things where it's unique, but it's fitness is such one of those things where it's not just item A and item B. There's so many different things to really look at. And I'm glad that you also mentioned budget stuff with the C stand setup with a condenser microphone. That's hundreds of dollars. I'll put that out there. That's hundreds of dollars for that kind of
Right.
setup. And even the just the C stand, it's called, when you're gonna get one of those, that's hundreds of dollars. And fitness people like myself and yourself probably, you were like, why? You look these things and you're like, what? Hundreds of dollars for just this stand? Like I can buy so much equipment for this, or new pants, shirts, whatnot. But yeah, it's a different industry. But Denise, let's get to the podcast closing tips right now. I'd love to get your insight on these items. What are two closing thoughts on the future of the fitness industry that you would like to share?
So we've stepped into online as an alternative to put into your life, and that will not disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So my take would be, if you're at all interested in this form of revenue in your business, I don't think it's too late. I think people should look into it for themselves. And platforms like Balanced are great additions,
Mm-hmm.
especially for teachers who are just starting.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so I feel like that's definitely a wave of the future. Yet on the other hand, I also feel that there's always a place for face to face. And, that is not dead. Gyms are opening up, and studios are open. So, many of them are hybrids, in fact, in the studios as well. And they are streaming classes at the same time that they're running them in their room, allowing people to sign up for either. Yeah, so I think that it would behoove anybody in the fitness industry, if you are taking this on as a job and you have the energy to promote yourself, you can really go far. And the advantage, of course, is that you're branching out of your geography.
Mm-hmm.
And I have students that are outside of my geography, and that would never happen, obviously, if we weren't online.
Yeah. Yeah. Side question, because I'm a big fan of education and I'm the host of this podcast, so I'll throw it in here, even though that was the last question. How have you potentially taken advantage of online with education, with yoga? Have you taken any courses online?
So I'm in the middle of, I haven't done yoga
Mm-hmm.
courses, but I am in the middle of a teacher certification,
Mm-hmm.
a 2-year program
Wow.
for mindfulness.
Wow.
So it's a mindfulness meditation teacher certification program. We have 7,000 people from all over the world in this program. I think the
Wow.
number is down a little bit. It's being conducted from two very, what I'd say, well-known teachers. This is why they have 7,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they created a online learning management platform.
Mm-hmm.
And then we meet in subgroups for sections
Mm.
of the course. So it's another hybrid, but it was supposed to be face to face too. So it was supposed to be online, small groups, and then face to face a few times a year. The face to face has not worked out with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's how I've used it.
Wow.
So, and it's a very sophisticated platform, and it's a very, I would say somewhat intricate teacher training.
Hmm.
We also are running, in our training, we're doing diversity, equity, and inclusion as a subset of the training. And so, the platforms will get more streamlined
Hmm.
for sure as time goes on. But yes, I mean, there is no getting around this. And on a positive note, it does bring costs down
Yep.
for the students, because when I was going to travel for this, we were going to kick off in Washington D.C.
Wow.
So that would have been a flight
Yeah.
and a hotel
Hmm.
and everything else.
Oh, yeah. Power of
So,
technology
yeah,
right there. Good example.
right. Yeah. So, I mean, I just see that this is, it allows for more, but let me restate this. It allows for more inclusion,
Hmm.
because if you can get online, which most people can, and you are interested, you really have an opportunity to reach more people and to, as a student or a teacher, learn more and do more
Yep.
to advance your own portfolio if you'd
Oh,
like.
yeah. 100% agree with all that stuff. And it's great. In my opinion, I think it's fantastic. And I think you were right and spot on with both of the thoughts that you shared before with it's not too late. I know that I've maybe made jokes in other podcast episodes about it's like, what have you been waiting for? But it's not too late. There's great platforms like Balance that can help you get started, and you don't have to know how to create websites, create all these different things that they can help you get started at your own cost, things like that. And I like what you shared about the in person and that stuff, because they're both growing and they both will be here. It's not like one's going to go away, that they'll both be here. And one was, I'll say people forget that online was already starting before the pandemic started. It was already coming. It was already in the works. There were companies already working on it, and things just got a little accelerated there. Denise, before we sign off here, can you share some information about where people can find you online for your classes and any promotions that you have going on?
Sure thing. Yeah. So my website is balanced, that's ed,
Mm-hmm.
balancedwithyou.com. And and if you're a corporation and interested in mindfulness, I'm always offering to corporate customers, my first class is free. And then I'm also, if you mention that you found me on this podcast and you reach out to me through the contact page, I would be absolutely happy to give you a 25% discount on your first class.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Denise, for coming on the Balance podcast, sharing some great information. I loved what you shared about things that you're using, things that you found that worked for your business, and even talking about the platform, being our first guest on this podcast that uses the Balance platform, sharing your experience. All that stuff matters. So again, thank you for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thank you for having me.